Hello everyone, good morning. Welcome to SharePoint Power Hour. I'm Laura Rogers, and SharePoint Power Hour is a show that we do weekly. This is my team at Rackspace Hosting. Basically what we do every week is we talk about things that you can do in SharePoint, pretty much mostly out-of-the-box functionality. This applies to SharePoint and Office 365, so we're not going to get into any hardcore programming, and we're not going to do any like server admin stuff, at least not that much, but we talk about just kind of all kinds of other topics around SharePoint, and usually just kind of jump in and do a demo of something. It's very informal. So before we get started on today's topic, which is going to be customizing forms, SharePoint list forms, we'll go ahead and introduce ourselves and go through the team, and just kind of, we're all going to talk a little bit about what our role is and who we are and our expertise is, and so you'll know where we're coming from. And then I'll be doing the demo today. So let's see, we'll go Kevin, then Ryan, then Stephen, then Tavis.
Hi, I'm Kevin Hughes, SharePoint architect at Rackspace on Laura's team. I'm based out of Kansas City, and my role on the team is to work with our clients and customers to try to determine exactly what their needs are in SharePoint, figure out how to deliver those, and then work with the rest of our team to deliver that. I've been working with SharePoint for a long time. Seems like it's pretty much my life now, so that's what I do.
All right.
Hi everybody, I'm Ryan Keller. I am the branding guy on the SharePoint team here at Rackspace, so my role consists of branding SharePoint and making it look nice. I typically, let's see here, I've been working with SharePoint branding for, I think, 4 years now. I keep losing track. One of these days, I swear I'll figure
It's more like
this out.
6, I think. I think you're,
Yeah, I've been working with SharePoint, I think, for like 6 or 7 years now, 8 maybe, and been doing consulting for like 6-ish years, and been doing branding for like 4 years, so it's been a while.
All right. Stephen.
Hi everyone, I'm Stephen Wilson. I'm the admin freak on the business solutions team. I do a lot of our admin work for customers who get kind of outside of the basic administration of SharePoint, or who are doing it on their own farms outside of the Rackspace environment. I do a lot of our migrations and our installs for third parties, and then I also do a little bit of helping people out getting started with SharePoint, with sort of the basics of how do I do just some of the first steps, creating a site taxonomy and things like that.
Awesome. All right. Tavis.
Hey, I'm Tavis Lovell, and I am on the Business Solutions team as a business intelligence developer. So I do a lot with SQL Server and SharePoint in terms of reporting and dashboarding, a little bit of reporting services, Performance Point, Power Pivot, analysis services, all that kind of good stuff. And I've been doing business intelligence since I think about like 2005-ish, so
right.
For a while now.
BI guru, everything you ever want to know about BI.
Never know it all.
Yeah, that's true, especially because they keep changing. They keep pulling the rug out from under you.
Without a doubt.
Changing stuff. All right, so again, I'm Laura Rogers. I'm a Microsoft MVP, and I am the manager of this lovely business solutions team. So we have a couple people that aren't here today, but I manage this team. We are SharePoint consultants at Rackspace Hosting, so people can buy hosted SharePoint from us, and we provide consulting services around SharePoint, whether you are or not a hosted customer. And we also do SharePoint training. So the way the SharePoint Power Hour works is that, of course, this is a free show every Wednesday at 11 Central. And if you're watching it on YouTube, it's streaming live. We use a Google Hangout, and it's streaming live on YouTube. And if YouTube does have, Google Hangout does have a Q&A. So if you're watching this on YouTube, you can click the little yellow link on the video that will take you over to the Google Hangout, and that's where the Q&A exists. So by default, there will be a little app showing on the right, a little thing called Showcase, which is a little thing that lets us share links, but you've got a little link towards the top right as you're watching us. It's got a bunch of little squares on it, and that lets you flip between apps. So you can flip over to the Q&A section. I see that Keith is already making a comment in there. You can flip over to the Q&A section, and that's where you can interact with us. So that's the fun part about having this. It's just a live show. Is number one, you never know what you're going to get, especially with my demos, and number two, you get to ask us questions live as we go, and we'd like to have a discussion about it, get your feedback too. So feel free to go over to the Q&A and let us know that you found it and say hi. So hi Keith, I see you in there. All right, so we don't have the ability to type in the Q&A, so we just, as we answer them, we just answer them live. Okay, so my demo today is going to be, Kevin was going to do something about a workflow, but then his VM broke and he's got to fix it. So this is very last minute. Thanks, Keith. Yeah, you found it. So this is going to be a demo based on something that I built for us as a team internally. We have sales leads. We have a sales leads list where we track them, and we have different statuses. Different people do different things in the list, and I did this as it's a non-InfoPath solution. There's no InfoPath involved, but I did create a way to be able to flip between different statuses of a sales lead and have different fields show up, and also be able to create a little custom button at the top of the form to be able to go click, I think I called it like edit full details, which takes you to a form that has all the fields to fill out. So I'm going to show you how I did that using content types, and how I created the button to take you to that custom form that has all the fields, and talk about the idea is that I want you to kind of think about, let your mind expand as to all the different types of solutions you might be able to do using this functionality, and just think about forms where you have certain fields that need to be filled out when the form is first filled out, when it's new, and then think about different people with different roles doing different things in that same form along the way, and having where you want different fields to be able to be available according to different like statuses or different people that are working on it. So this is going to give you some tools to use for that. So and again I just created this morning, this demo list that I'm going to show you based on an example of one that I actually did create on our internal environment. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Let me see. All right, I see some people saying hi. Hello, everybody. We got 21 live viewers. Awesome. Okay, so I'm going to do screen share and go over to my... Okay, this is going to be, what you see now is just a blank, it's just a team site in SharePoint, where it's just sort of a mock-up of, like our SharePoint services site. And what I've started doing already, I haven't done much, I haven't created the sales leads list yet. What I've started doing is creating the content type. So all this ability to have different fields show at different times you can do with content types. And I've done some other power hours, like I did a whole entire series of power hours doing this HR onboarding solution. So in that I used some of the same concept. It's actually a playlist in our SharePoint RAX YouTube channel called HR Onboarding Demo. And I used a bunch of the same concept in there where we show and hide fields according to different content types. So we're going to do some of that, but we're going to do a couple of additional things that weren't necessarily part of that thing that we built. So the idea around the first thing that we're doing in here is that I have a base content type called sales lead. And when I created it, for the parent, I just picked just the generic list item content type, just called item. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to put all the fields, all the columns that we need for all the different statuses that some project might go through, or a Schultz sales lead might go through. I'm going to put every single one of them in this base content type. And then I'm going to create a couple of other child content types off of this And in each of those, I'm going to go remove some of these so that like the project managers can have their own form that's got stuff that project managers need to fill out, and just different concepts like that. So what I did is I just created some. These are all site columns, and so like this is the content type. These are the site columns that are in it, and I put. I'll go up to my site columns here, and I kind of put them all in this little a little custom grouping in my list of site columns, so I can kind of keep them all organized. And for some reason on my, this is my VM that I'm using, for some reason on my VM, every time I go to something that's has to do with site columns, it always takes a minute. Okay, so there it goes. So as I was creating these, it's so funny because sometimes I'll forget to put it in that little custom group when I create it, so it will end up down here like this one did. So project type, when I created this site column, I accidentally left it in this custom columns group, and I want it to be kind of up there grouped with all the other ones, and I also want to, when I created it, I put an underscore in the name of it. And I like to put underscores in the names of them sometimes when I think that I'm going to be doing something custom with them, like maybe doing something crazy in SharePoint Designer, just because when you're dealing with fields in there, it's easier, you know, if they have nice, neat little names. All right. So that's why I did that, because I might be going into SharePoint Designer and showing you something in there once or twice. Even though SharePoint Designer in this version of SharePoint has no design view. But I'm going to still show you something in there. Okay, so I went ahead and just kind of fixed that site column. So the next step is going to be to go create the other content types based on my little sales lead, just sort of like a master content type. So when I go click create, I'm going to say, let's see, pre-sales. What was it? Do y'all remember what the status is called? Pre-sales resource or something like that. Resource assigned, that's what it was. The first time, the first time a sales lead is brand new, I want the content type to be resource request. And this could be, you could just call this content type new. And in this content type, I'm going to put all of the fields that are going to be for when they're filling out a new form. All right, so this is a new, we're a new sales lead. Okay, in the parent type, it's really important that I pick that sales lead parent content type. Nabil says, hi, is it better to have a parent content type with all columns and child content types that are removing columns versus bare content type and children with additional columns? It's better to have a parent one, Nabil, because I've had issues where I didn't create a parent. I just created all the just different ones that all had different fields in them. But the problem was that when I went and added all the content types to a list, then there were some content types that maybe I didn't show that field, that column in the form, and it was just hidden. And so all the hidden ones didn't end up going into the list at all when I did that, when I didn't have like a parent, like a master one. So I like to just have a parent, and I'll show you a couple of reasons as I'm going why. To me, it's just a nice, neater way to do it. And this is just something that I've just kind of discovered over the years. All right, I'm going to put this in my little group, resource request, new sales lead. So I'm creating a new content type, and so you can see now that it's got all the same exact fields as the parent. So what I can do in here is I can go remove or make them hidden if I don't want them to be in, don't want them to exist when it's a brand new form being filled out. I found that if I go in here and make them hidden, then remember that this content type now has the parent. So when I make edits to the parent content type, like if I go change something, go edit a column or something like that, it pushes it down to the children. So I found that if I just go remove a content type from a child and just say I don't want it on that form, they're not going to be filling out on that form at all, it's not going to magically like reappear from being hidden to optional if I'm making changes at the top level. So I usually just remove them. Now when I remove, as I'm removing some of these site columns from this content type, you're not losing data. You're not going to lose data if a child content type doesn't have some of the same fields as the other one, because the data will still be in the list. All you're really doing with the content type is removing it from existing on the form they're filling out. So I'm just going to click remove. But you can see that I can make it required, optional, or hidden. So I might have certain things that need to be required when it's a brand new form. So I'll say I want this one to be required. I can go, let's see, rearrange these. I want project number to be number 3. I want that to be required. Let's see. And I'll notice that I didn't create any kind of customer name. I didn't create a customer name field in here because when I'm going to use the title field, because every content type and every list that you create has this generic title field. I'm just going to use the title field for that. Now, I'm not ever going to go try and edit this out-of-the-box default site column called title, because that would affect every single list and library in my whole site collection because they all have that title field. So do not ever go edit. Don't ever do this right here. We've seen people do that, haven't we, guys? They don't realize what it's going to affect. All right, so that's what I'm going to use title for. So I'm going to go take, again, this is going to be for new leads, and I don't want new leads to necessarily have all of these different fields involved. So I think this is a good set of fields. I'm going to remove that one too. Yes, and deleting them, in my experience, is better than hiding them, because right now, like if I go and hide, like just say future SharePoint, if I go hide this here, okay? So now in my child content type called resource request, I hid future SharePoint. If in the future I go up to my sales lead and I make some sort of modification to future SharePoint, I go, change a setting in here, that will actually push that change down to all the child content types. Like if I do this or something like that. And so then if I had it hidden, it then becomes unhidden, because whatever all the settings are at the top level will get pushed down to all the children. So that's just my experience with that. Okay, so now I've got another one. The very first lead, that when it first comes in, it's going to be a resource request. I'm going to do another content type based on, I'm just going to base each of these off of the sales lead. I'm going to do resource assigned. And then I'm going to say the parent content type, again, is going to be my sales lead. All right, is assigned. Now, in the real world, we really have about 7 different statuses that these go through, but I was just trying to keep this nice and simple. So I'll put this in my test group. All right, and then when the resource is assigned, then I might have different things that I want to take that I don't necessarily need to be in that one, so I'll just go remove a couple real quick. Some of this stuff, if you want to be able to do it quickly, you could do it from within SharePoint Designer. You can open up content types in SharePoint Designer and have the ability to go edit some of this stuff, and sometimes it's just quicker than going into the browser. All right, I'm going to remove this one. And I'm going to say pre-sales resource is important. So when it's a resource assigned, I actually need pre-sales resource to be required because who is the resource, right? And then they're also going to be doing the pre-sales call, having that scheduled. I'll go ahead and move detailed notes down to the bottom there. There we go. And then I'll go ahead and do another one. I'll do one called Project Manager. And then this is going to be things that only the project manager needs to be filling out. Existing group, that, okay. All right, so the project manager, I'm gonna actually get rid of a good bit of the fields that get filled out at the beginning. Now they can still see these, so again, they'll still be able to see in columns in their views in the list that I haven't created yet. They'll still be able to see all this data. They're just not going to have it in the form they're filling out. So I can move to pre-sales resource, pre-sales call, it's not important. So as you can see, I'm just narrowing it down to stuff project managers might want to be doing. Detailed notes, let's see what happens when I take detailed notes and I go up to the very parent content type and I rearrange those and I do column order and I move that to the bottom. Let's see. Let's go look at the child content types and see what it did. All right, sales lead, project manager. Say it moved the detailed notes down. Let's see. I'm going to go look at resource request, and so it's still got low required and hidden fields and stuff like that that I did. So let me go unhide this one, put it back where it was. Okay, so now I've got several different content types. I've got sales lead that's got a bunch of stuff. I've got resource request, resource assigned, and then project manager. Now I need a list, right? So I'll go create a SharePoint list on this site. And I'll call it sales leads. And this is, I have a blog post that I wrote a long time ago called Using Content Types as Statuses. And I don't know if one of you guys has time to go look for that, but that's where I first introduced this concept. But again, I'm going to take it a step further in today's demo in that I'm going to create some custom buttons and stuff to do stuff in it. All right, I just created a good old generic custom list, and the first thing that I need to do to be able to do anything with content types is allow management of content types. So I click OK. And now by default I have this item one. Now I can't not have a content type, so I have to leave this one in here at least until I add some other ones, then I can get rid of it. So go add from existing. So I can actually, what I usually do is I usually take that parent one, and just because I've been burned before and I've had issues, I take that parent one that's got all the columns and I just add that one first. And that way, see, it pulls all the columns in. Now I have every single field that exists or for any sales lead in here. And then I'll go ahead, I can remove the item one because I don't need that. And then I can go add the other ones. Can narrow it down into my little group here, and I'm going to say project manager, resource center, resource request. Those are all the ones that had that as a parent. And now look how cool. So now every time I'm looking at my fields, my columns, whatever you want to call them, I can immediately see where each field, which content types each field is being used in. If I had simply hidden them, and I think Anne, you were asking about this, if I had simply hidden them, these would all look identical going down the page. You wouldn't be able to tell which ones were showing on which form because they had only been hidden, they hadn't been removed. So now this is just an easy way to see where I'm using them. Now that I'm in the list, I'm not in my content type, now I can take title and I can call it customer. And so I'm just changing title to customer name just within the list. So let's go see what it looks like now when I go create a new item. When I create a new item, it's going to take whatever my default content type is. So this is just, the sales lead was just my default content type. That was the first one that I added in here. So that has all the fields. I don't want that, right? So now I can see my new item dropdown has all these different options, but I don't necessarily want all those. So I'll go to my list settings, and I can say I can change the new button order and default content type. I don't want sales lead to necessarily be one of the ones they can pick from, and I want resource request to be the default one. That's going to be the first one. That's going to be when there's a new form. All right, so let's go do that. I'll click OK. So now someone fills out a new item. I'll just say customer name AdventureWorks. I'll say they're a new customer. Some info about contacting Bob, and then needs migration from 2007. Now it'll be all you, Stephen. Current SharePoint is 2007. Future is 2013. And then remember we told them to put in a project number, and then I can say new. I don't really need to make a detailed note. Okay, so now that's my new item. Now I don't have many columns in here, so that's one thing that usually throws people off, is that when you add all the content types, it adds all the columns to the list. It just doesn't put them in the default view. So I can go add a bunch of stuff to my view. So content type is going to tell me, what content type it is. I can say created by current SharePoint. I need customer names, pretty important. I'm going to put that up. Oh, I already have that on there. Sorry. And I'll just say pre-sales resource, project type, some other things. Okay. All right, so now I can see that this is a resource request, and when I go look at it, again, I only see those fields that they filled out. But watch this. When it's time for the resource to be assigned, when I change the drop-down to resource assigned, now look at that. We have all the fields that exist in that other content type. So I'm going to put Joelle in here, and I can say when the call is going to be, and Joelle has been assigned. All right. Okay, so now we've got pre-sales resource, and we have the ability for them to flip between different content types. Thanks, Keith. He said he likes my blog on cascading lookups in InfoPath. Awesome. I'm glad you like that. Yeah, those are fun. Okay, cool. See you later. Okay, so now here's the fun part. So what if I want people to be able to, like when they're on this form and they're editing it, well, I had some other field that's not showing here that I need to be able to go edit. And I need to be able to just quickly, click a button. Now, one thing that you can do technically is that you could go into Datasheet view. You can go to this quick edit view, and you can edit whatever you want to, like this, just directly in quick edit view, even if it's not showing in the form that you just opened. You might want to tightly control this, though. So I can, if I want to, if I don't want people to be able to do this in a view, I can turn that off. In my list settings, in the advanced settings, there's an option to just turn off this Datasheet view, quick edit view, whatever you want to call it. So I can limit that. Some water here. All right. So I want to put a button at the top of my form so that when people are editing an item, they can quickly just go click to go edit, just get the full details, just get the full list of all the fields to be able to quickly edit those on the form. But I also want to limit it so that not everybody can click that button. Oh, also, I cannot stand this attach file thing. That is a big pet peeve of mine. I don't know about you guys, but it's one of the first things I always do when I create a custom list or any kind of list is disable that, because people don't need that. People don't need that in this situation, at least. Also, I'm going to go rearrange these because I noticed that even the resource assign needs to be the second thing that happens, but it was the third thing in the drop down, so it's just a little tweak there. Okay, so how do I create a custom button? First of all, I open this site up in SharePoint Designer, and I've had SharePoint Designer open a while, so I need to be sure and refresh it because I've made some changes to the list since I first opened it. All right, go to Lists and Libraries and go to my list where I want to put the button, and down here at the top, bottom right is Custom Actions. Now, we did a whole SharePoint Power Hour, a whole separate one on Custom Actions in the past that Joelle did. So this is just another just another way, another thing that you can do with a custom action. If you click the new button, you're not going to get many options in here. Oh, I'm glad you feel the same about attachments, Anne. That's funny. Yeah. I don't use this new button here. I like to put my cursor down in this box, and then, ooh, how's my resolution, guys? I didn't go change my resolution. Let me go do that real quick so you can see it better. So I usually try and remember to do that right before I start Power Hour, and so that in the recording it looks better. Okay, let me see. Keep changes. Let's see what that looks like. Okay, wow, look at that. Okay, so now you can see custom actions, and then I click this drop down, and that is what's going to give me where do I want to put this custom button. So for now, I'll just say I want to put it on maybe the edit form. I can put it in multiple places, so I can go put it on the edit form. I'll do that first. So I'll just say edit full details. And then what do I want it to do? So what I really want it to do is I want it to open a custom form. But since I haven't created that form yet, so what I want to do is I want to create a custom form for it to navigate to, so that when I click this button, that's where it's going to take me. So to be able to create this custom action, I want to go ahead and create my form first. So, and then I'll also need to have some buttons for it to, what do I want it to show there? So I'm going to click cancel. And here are my forms right here. So again, I'm just in SharePoint Designer looking at my leads list. And here are all my out-of-the-box forms. Every list in library has 3 forms just out of the box. The display form that you use when you're just looking at a form, when you're editing it, and new form is the one when you're filling out a new form. So I go create a new form for editing an item. So I'll call it edit full details. And that's just going to have all the fields in it. And I'll say it's going to be an edit form. And look at this. I get to pick a content type to use. Pretty cool, right? So I'm going to pick sales lead. And look, this can create custom actions for me. It'll just do it for me without me having to take all those extra steps. I can still go tweak those, but it will at least create them for me. So I'm going to say, what do I want it to be called? Edit full details. All right. So I click create a new form. I want it to be an edit form. I want to use the sales lead content type because it has all of the fields I'm going to need. And then I click OK. And then there's my new form right there. Okay, so now I've got it created a custom action for me on the list item menu. The list item menu is when you click that little ellipsis next to an item when you're just looking at the list of everything and that drop down. So let's just go over to my sales leads list, and might have to refresh it. And see, my drop down now says edit full details, and look at that, it takes me to this form that's got all the fields in it. But that's not all. Okay, so now I'm gonna so edit full details. I can go look at what it has in it. So it says navigate to form. It's got the form I just created, and I can change the description. Details. I can't type of this lead, and then I can pick a button. Now, when it's showing in the drop-down menu, it's not going to show an icon. But when I do some of these other buttons, I'll show you where the little selecting a button is going to matter. So I'll go ahead and just click OK in here. And I'm going to put my cursor down in here and use this drop down up here to go to the Edit Form ribbon. And now I'll say Edit Form Details, Edit of this lead. Okay, and then again I have to go pick that custom form I created. And then what are my buttons? Okay, so this is where I have to go navigate to somewhere in SharePoint where I've created some buttons that are of these exact sizes. So I can go click Browse, and I can go, I know that I created in the top level of my site collection, I do have a library that's got all those in it, so I'm just going to go directly grab those URLs. So I'm going to go up to, I'm going to open this in a new tab, go up to my home page. I just have just one library called Site Collection Images that I just like to keep all that stuff in. And then I know that I've just got everybody in the company has read access to all the stuff in here so that I know that wherever I use these icons, they're going to be able to see them. So I have one called Edit, File Edit. So I've got 32 by 32 and 16 by 16. So I'll just pick both of these. I need to get the URL to it. So I can just right click right here and get the URL. And that's the 16 by 16 one. And that's my little button image right there. And you can make it a relative URL if you want. And then I can go over here to the, I got to get the 32 by 32 URL. And copy, oops. Yeah, copy shortcut. And put that one. Okay, so now I've got buttons. Now, both buttons do the exact same thing. They're just showing in two different places. I could also do another one and put it in the display form as well. So let's go see what it looks like so far. Go back over to my site and go back to my services site, sales leads. Okay, so now I've got edit full details here, like I showed you. But also when I'm editing an item, now look at that. That's using the little pretty icon that I created. Now watch this. I click Edit Full Details, and now I have my custom form here that's got every single field listed for me to go quickly edit something. Okay, so what if I want to have, what if I want to limit who can see that, and I want to have, maybe I want to have multiple different buttons that have different people's roles for them to be able to go edit fields where other people can't go to those, go to those forms or be able to edit those fields. So I'm going to use the project manager content type as an example. So I'm going to go over here and I'm going to say change new button order, and I'm going to take the checkbox off of project manager because I don't want just anyone to be able to go edit an item and go change it to project manager. So unchecking the box takes it out of this drop down box. I'm going to put a button up here so that I'm going to make it so that only certain people will be able to click that button that's going to have fields that only project managers can fill out. So I have to have a form for that, so I'll go create a new form. Keep in mind that when you're creating these new custom forms, this is actually creating sort of a custom page in here that's going to give you issues if you add and edit a bunch of fields later. So for example, I created one in our environment, and then later on I went and deleted one of the fields. But since it was on this custom form, I actually had to go into this custom form and I had to go find the spot where that field was and go remove it like using code. So when you're creating these forms, when you're clicking the Create Form button over here, do that last after you've got all your fields like in, kind of how you want them, so that you don't have to go recreating these forms or go editing stuff in code. But I'll still go show you the kind of how to find stuff in there. So let's see, okay, to put it says, could you put a print button there for the form? I think a printing is going to be a functionality that's going to be more like something that you'd have to call using JavaScript, because these little buttons I'm creating are just either starting a workflow, going to a custom URL, or going to a custom form. Taking them to a print dialog just isn't one of the options that you have. But yeah, that's probably something that you'd have to do in JavaScript to put some kind of button like that. All right, so I'll do new form, and I'll just say project manager. And I want them to be able to edit. And I don't want it to be the default form, but I want to have all the fields that exist in the project manager content type, and not going to automatically create the link this time. So I'll go ahead and just click OK. So now I have a project manager form, and then I can go in here and say I want to have a new custom action that's on the edit form ribbon that's just for project managers. And navigate to form, it's going to be project manager. And PMs only. All right, and then I can have some custom button that's got like like a little person or something like that that's only for project managers. Let's see if I have any that I've created already. Ooh, I've got one. Let me see. I'll go back up to my, I think I had that link. There we go, site collection images. Go back up to site collection images and drag this one in here. It's called meeting 24 by 24. I'm going to go grab that URL and I'll just pretend that that's a project manager icon. Okay, so I've got that one, and for the 16 by 16, I'm just going to point to that same one that I had in the other one. And I haven't done the thing yet where you make it so only certain people can see it. So let me just go grab that 16 by 16 image link. Because it doesn't use the 16 by 16 one anywhere that I can tell. I don't know. I don't even know if it's necessary. That might be residual from 2010. You can do this stuff in 2010. All right. Project Manager. Now, I only want project managers to see that. So this is going to be what's called, it's going to use this rights mask thing. So rights mask is going to be what permission do they have to be able to see this button. So guys in my coworkers there, did y'all ever find, yeah, Metro Studio, Michael, is where I made my icons. Did y'all ever find that a better permissions mask link than those ones?
I looked, I didn't. Like
okay.
Most of the ones I found talked about more development topics, and we're showing it.
Oh, okay.
Links it up to everything else.
Okay, that's cool. I'm going to take one. I'm just going to use this link that I found to someone who, it's a 2010 blog, but it's still applicable. It's a list of what the names of permissions are to put here for rights mask. And there are lots of different blogs out there that reference this rights mask stuff. That's just one of them. So let's see. I'll go ahead and I put that in the Showcase app. So if you guys flip over to the Showcase app from the Q&A app, you'll be able to see the link in there. It says SharePoint 2010 permissions and mask values, and that's called the rights mask. Okay, so rights mask means what permissions do people have to be able to see this button. So I can't do it by SharePoint group. I can't just put like the name of a SharePoint group here or something like that. I have to do it by what are they allowed to do in this list. And so that certain permission that they have, and I'd have to type the name of it in here. So let me give you a little just sort of background about my list. So in my list, what I've done in the real world is I've made it so that salespeople can't delete things in this list. Only project managers and like certain site admins can delete things. So I created a custom permission level that allows them to edit and not delete things. So the ability to delete is going to be a good sort of permission that that I can use to say, well, if they can delete things, that means they're a project manager, and that means they can see this button. Another one that you can use is if they have the ability to approve items. You could use that as if they have approve items ability, then they'll be able to see this button. So let me show you kind of where that comes from. I'll go to Site Settings and go to Site Permissions, and I'm going to go up to the root level of my site collection and go to my Site Permissions. And let's look at permission levels. So when I go look at a permission level, like for example, I'm going to go look at contribute. These are the things they can do. They can add items, edit items, delete items, view. So all these individual things here, those are permissions. So I have to know a specific name of a permission to be able to name that one in the rights mask, to be able to say, if you have this permission, like delete items or approve items, then you can see this button. Does that make sense? So here's the little list of the names of some of these. So like approve items is called that, delete list items is called that. Some of them, they have codes associated with them and stuff like that. All right, so let me go over here, and so this is where I'm going to need to type that word. All right. I have to create, what I'm going to do in this situation is I'm going to create a permission level that allows them to add and edit but not delete. Okay. So when I create a permission level, I don't ever want to edit an existing, one of the out-of-the-box ones. And actually, recently in Office 365, they've made these not non-editable. I don't know if y'all noticed that. They all, like in the past, it's only been full control that's been grayed out like that, that you can't edit. I've noticed now that in Office 365, all the out-of-the-box ones are now gray, which is good because people were accidentally editing them. So you don't want to edit the out-of-the-box one. So I'm going to take an out-of-the-box one and click Copy Permission Level. I'm going to call it Add Edit, Not Delete. Can add and edit items, can't delete. Right, and I'm just going to uncheck the delete. I'm just going to throw in the delete versions thing too. They can't delete versions. Okay, and then I can click Create. All right, so now I've got a custom permission level. Now I don't have to give people this permission level at an entire site or anything like that. I can just do it in this one list where I've put the sales leads. So let's go back over to my sales leads list, and I'm going to let's see. I go to permissions, trying to think of my list that I already have. Stop inheriting permissions. And I want, I hate all these just out of the box. Let me get rid of a lot of these out of the box ones and just leave some of these alone. All right. Remove. Okay, so members, that's going to be just like regular people, just anybody that's editing and adding things in that list. So for members, those are the ones that I'm not going to give edit. I'm going to give add, edit, not delete. And then the project managers are going to be the ones that can delete. All right, and I'm going to, oops, let's see, select a permission level. I want project managers to be able to contribute. I hate that edit permission level. It drives me nuts. Because when they can edit, when they have the edit permission level, they can manage the whole list. It's just kind of, it's not really obvious with the name of the permission level. Okay, so now inherently, since the permission level called contribute allows people to add, edit, and delete, then these people have this thing called delete list items. So delete list items, one big word. And then the people who have just everybody else on the site can add, edit, and can't delete. So when I set this setting on the button, that means only project managers and like owners and stuff are going to be able to see that button. You'll let me know if that doesn't make any sense. Hopefully I'm clear. Do you have to use a 16 by 16 button, says Ann? I don't think you do. It didn't give me an error, so I don't know, I just put it in there anyway. Okay, rights mask. So it was called, what was it called again? Delete list items. Okay, they can only see it if they have this delete list. They only can see it if they have that. All right, and then the sequence number is just the order that they show across the page. Okay, so that is my project manager button that exists in the ribbon. So let's go see now, and I don't even have to do save or anything in SharePoint Designer. It just applies my changes. So now let's go over to my sales leads list. I'll go edit, not edit full details or edit item, and just see. So project manager button is here. So now when I click project manager, now I have, look at that, I've got all the fields that exist for project managers. Like I can say who the project manager is, I can say what the project type is. And so those are the fields that I only want project managers to be able to edit. So I'm in the project manager, my permission level is I'm the owner of the site, so inherently I have all those permissions. Let's see if I can log in as somebody else that doesn't necessarily have that in this list. I'm going to do, I'm going to try Ryan. Ryan, I'm going to log into my virtual machine as your little fake account. Let's see. rtm.contoso.com. I'm going to pull this up in Firefox in just a second. right, Ryan, you're going to my services site, go to sales leads. Let's see if I don't think you're in the project managers list. No, you're not. Pretty cool, right? So Ryan is just a regular member of the site, and he's not in the project managers. He's not in the group of people that's going to have that higher level of permissions on the list that it does allow them to delete things. So he can edit full details. Now I can do the same thing with the edit full details button. I can just hide that from people who can't delete things. So I'll go do that as well. So I'm going to go back over here, and I'm going to go to edit full details, and I'm just going to say delete. Was it delete list items? Is that right? And I'll go here. Okay, and then so now let's go try that out. So let's see, we're logged in as Ryan now, and I just refreshed the form. That's all I did. Look at that. So now all Ryan can do is he can do resource assigned or resource request, one of those, but he has no way of editing any of those other fields. And I could go to the list settings and disable the quick edit view if I don't want him to be able to go into this view and edit those other fields. Pretty cool? All right, and also just keep in mind that you have those other, when you're doing your new forms over here, you have the ability to say whether it's new, edit, or display. So technically I could create, for project managers, I could allow them a new item form and give them maybe even a special hyperlink to it. It's going to be whatever.aspx. And that way when project managers create a new item, maybe they can have additional fields that they can fill out right then instead of having to go back and hit edit and go to the project manager button. So yeah. Okay, so now what happens if I want to go edit some fields in here? So let's go see what happens. I'll go over to project manager and I'll let you kind of show you how to get around in here. This is such an ugly, it's the code view, and again, there's no display view in 2013. Newsflash, right? All right, so this is what I had to do the other day. I had deleted a field, and I'd actually created a new one later and called it something else, and then I still had this just sort of residual row in my detail form that had the old name of the field, and the new name didn't get automatically added. So new fields that I add to the sales leads content type are not going, or the project manager content type are not going to get added to this form automatically. That's why I say to go, create them all ahead of time. So I can see that I've got this pattern here as I'm going down. So look at this. See, I've got project underscore type, and I can see that this is the project type row right here, and then this is the project manager row. And these field names right here, these are the sort of behind the scenes sort of system field names. So it's not just going to be like the name of the field that you see in front of you. It's going to be the name of the field of whatever you called it. So let me show you how you find one of those real quick. I go to my list, I go to list settings, and all I have to do is go hover over one of these, and I can just get the little, see the field equals at the end there? So like project manager, future SharePoint. So it's got, I have to go copy the shortcut and show you what it looks like. So I can hover over something real quickly and just see what the field equals, and that, unfortunately, that little %5f thing is going to, that equals, and that's an underscore, but you have to use this little URL decode thing to be able to decode what all those are. So there's going to be a little bit of a difference. You can't just copy this from your field name and go paste it into that code view that you saw on your form. You actually have to do this little, it's URL encode decode little page. There we go. And so I can just go take that and I can see it says future underscore SharePoint right there. That makes sense? So future underscore, see the little underscores are going to be, that's what that equates to in here. So if I go up here, see it says future underscore SharePoint. So it's called a URL encode decode to be able to go look at what the field name is in SharePoint and look at what it is in here. Also, another little extra thing that you might want to do is, let's try this. I haven't tried it before right now, but you know, it's me, so we'll see what happens. I'm in this code view, and I'm gonna go to the web part tab up here and hit export to file. And I'm glad you like this, Michael. Okay, so I'm exporting this to be a web part file, and I'm gonna call it project manager. So this is a project manager custom form for this. To fill out for this list. Okay. So now that it's a web part, now I can take just any web part page in here, and I can put this web part on it. And I'm just going to use you're not going to want to use your home page in the real world for something like this, but I'm just going to go stick it on the home page and show you how I can, I can go create a page or create a dashboard or something and stick an actual form on it. So I'll go choose web part, upload a web part, go to my desktop that I just saved it on, and hopefully that's nobody that's brand new to SharePoint is watching this today, because I probably just like made your head explode, right? All right, so it disappears when you click import web part. You have to go back in here. It's kind of dumb. So I'll go insert web part, and now it shows right here. Let's go see what that looks like. Okay, see if that worked. So, no, it didn't work. Okay. Well, like I said when I was over here, I said I had never done it before. You used to be able to do this in previous versions of SharePoint, and it worked fine. But there's probably something that, like all the way it does these fields, the way the form is customized, just is not going to render on that page. So Ryan would probably know more about things rendering on a page or not. But you can see that it gives me my ribbon, but it doesn't give me any of those fields that I had put on the form. I was so hoping that that would be just like a nice, easy way to just take a form and stick it on, just some page, but it isn't. Another thing that's extra that I did in our sales leads list in our environment is I customized the form. I got 2 minutes left. I stuck a content search web part on here to go find stuff just in another site collection that was related, that had the same customer name. So when this other, some other list people are using in a completely different site collection for some other process, when it was created, nothing was created as a site column or anything like that. They just stuck a list in a site. But I don't want to mess with what they're doing or recreate anything. In this situation, I just want to be able to link to any matching items over here. I'm going to go grab the URL of this customer list, and I'm going to put it on my form. So I'm going to go edit my default edit form, and see how fast I can do this. Content rollup, content search. We might have to do a whole power hour about this cool thing with the content search web part too. I know that we've done like 15 power hours about the content search web part already, but this is just one that lets you show something based on a field that's already showing on the page, so that's kind of cool. So I want to go point to that specific other list that I just copied the URL from, and I'm going to get all this gobbledygook out of here, this layout stuff, and I want to show just items from that other list, and I only want to show items that match the customer name on the form I'm looking at. So let's see, it's going to be value of a field on the page. So title. Remember, I took title and I changed it to be called, it was called title and I changed it to be called customer name. All right, I'm going to click OK. Yeah, we'll probably have to do a whole other power hour about that. So let me go do the edit item button on AdventureWorks. Look at that. So now this actually is a link, I'll open it in a new window, to the other thing in the completely other site collection that just happens to have the same customer name. Now, this would have to be spelled exactly the same, or search would have to recognize that it's the same thing. But that's just a way to quickly go reference something. Of course, I didn't pick like a pretty display template or anything. All right, I went 1 minute over. Thanks, y'all. Oh, thanks, Carlos. Good to see you. Thanks, everybody. I know I ran over. Sorry. I don't know what we're doing next week, but I'll see you all later. Have a good afternoon. I'll stop sharing my screen. All right. Bye, y'all. Thanks for your patience. That was a fun one. I could have done that one for a couple of hours.